I'm gonna do something that I've been dreading for a long time. I'm gonna get real honest about working, careers, jobs, all of that. Look, when you've reached a certain career level, all right, I'm over 50, not by much, but I'm over 50. I've been in the working world, professional working world, if you will, for 30 years, actually over 30 years. I went to college and wanted to get a white collar job, I guess. I always saw that as what I wanted to do. And probably for, I don't know, 20, 23, 24 years, everything was going very well. And everything was, jobs were lining up. My salary was moving in the direction that you want it to be, and all of those kinds of things. And then one day you wake up and you realize that, hey, the last company you worked at just downsized and you don't have to go into work today. And everything changes because you're not the 20 something sending out your resume anymore. All right. You're not the 20 something with that's perceived to have all the energy and vitality and all that good stuff and the want to moving forward. You're not that person anymore. And it's extraordinarily difficult. Extraordinarily difficult. I have 2 siblings and they'd been in their careers for a long time, and they had, at that point, very good careers, very stable careers, jobs, I guess, to be more specific, and I didn't, okay? And, just looking outside the mirror, looking at just the family I grew up with was difficult because of that reason, you know? And the other component of all this that I don't wanna I don't wanna give blame to anybody. I don't wanna say, "Woe is me," all right? I'm just telling you my experience. I was in my 40s, early to mid 40s, I believe, when my job was downsized, and I was getting paid well. And I had good investments, and I was making very good money, all right? Very, very, very good money. And the bottom side kind of came out from underneath me, and I realized, although I fought it for a while, but I realized just how difficult getting a job at my age would be. And I fought that. I would apply like I did years before, to jobs that were below me, at my level, a little bit higher, blah, da, 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 all these kinds of things. And you know, I, I also was consulting on the side, so I was making a little bit of money, not a lot, but I was making money. And I would still apply to jobs. And I would get a job or something like that for a while, or a project, let's say, a longer term kind of contract. And what I learned was the people I was dealing with for those projects, for those jobs, didn't know where to put me, because most companies, not all companies, but most agencies, most, I did some work for some nonprofits. Most nonprofits, family owned companies, those kinds of things, they'll hire someone, either A, they really know well, okay, a family member, a friend of a family member, those kinds of things, or they'll hire someone who's pretty much right out of college. Obviously, given the roles, maybe it's someone who's just out of HVAC school or something like that, but someone who's young or younger. They're used to those trends for the most part, and so I don't think they knew what to do with me, because they would give the work that they would give me often, not everybody. Some of my projects as a consultant were very direct, very specific. This is your role, this is what we talked about, go do this. And that's totally fine. I totally get that. Okay. But when I would have longer term projects, or somebody would hire me for some, like a consultant kind of thing, the projects they would give me were always much lower than where I was. And I'm not saying that like I'm a genius, like I'm some god, but they would okay, so I've been in marketing and communications, and they would have me, look up the media for a news release, or they would have me, go to an event and pass out my card. Not that I'm opposed to that, but it would be like, "Oh, you're working the booth." And I'm like, "Well, shouldn't I be representing the company and going to other booths? Shouldn't I be doing something that's shouldn't I have a role that's more of an ambassador role than it is like, oh, I'm working the booth and in between, the people, you know, helping people at the booth, not helping people at the booth. There was a lot of that. I've been working with strategy for 20 years. That's what my world was. How do we make this company become more attractive to these other companies from a B2B standpoint, or how do we make this company more attractive to their clients, customers, consumers, whatever you want to call it? What can we do to make that better? And when I would go and work for somebody else, and sometimes it was as a consultant, but often I would say about 50% of the time with consultancies, they would say, we need someone to write a news release, pitch it to the media, go to this trade show, meet with these people. It was very specific roles, which I don't mind. I mean, I kind of see that as a hired gun. You kind of come in, you put your lunch pail down, you do your work, you pick up your lunch pail, you go to lunch or you leave for the day. It's simple like that. But some of these ambiguous roles, like I said, family owned, nonprofits, smaller agencies, those kinds of things, they didn't know what to do with me. And it's because I I had low level experience for a long time. I worked at a very big PR firm, communications marketing firm when I was pretty young, and I got a lot of great experience in a lot of different roles. And so they would be giving me these things, but at the same time, they didn't know what to give me. They didn't know what to give me because they didn't understand it. And when I tried to explain it, again, maybe bad fit on my part. I should have asked more questions, all right? They didn't know how to answer me. When I made recommendations, they shoot them away. When I said, "Hey, here's a plan that I built over the weekend or over the past couple of weekends, whatever it is, for, awareness. Here's a plan for here's a strategic plan." People would in my earlier roles, like, pay money for this, or this would be an assignment, come up with a strategic plan to help with awareness that uses these tools, da 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 da. And I would come up with that. I would present that to them. And it was like the paper was blank. It was like the paper was blank. Now let me get back to, looking for roles because there's sort of a dichotomy when you're in a position like mine. And let me explain what that position was. I did have projects, but I also was looking for jobs because I have, kids in school and private school and college and all these other kinds of things that you have to make money for, and you would love to have the money. That's a whole nother thing. The financial aid for colleges, if you own your own company or you're a consultant, they just don't. The paperwork they have you fill out is all for being an employee. It's nuts. Anyway, that's an argument. That's a discussion for another day. However, there's all these roles, and people would say to me the typical things. You're overqualified. You're overqualified. This is a much junior role. This is a much junior role. I don't know if the pay would be representative. I totally get that. And sometimes I would say, no, I totally understand. And other times, look, I like the role. I knew I could do the work. I knew I could bring something extra to the table. They didn't want to hear that. They would have a job description and, maybe they would say 3 to 5 years, sometimes maybe they would say 2 to 3 years. Sometimes it was a content creator kind of role. I've been creating content forever, even before social media, which again says my age. And sorry about that. And so it was crazy because here's a job and I would try to even say in my cover letter, I've been as a consultant, I've been, having to roll up my sleeves. I've having, to do from the ground up all the way through, not just strategy. In addition to strategy, I would write it, I would edit it, I would send it out, explaining my role because I don't mind that stuff. If it has to get done, I'm a one person show for all intents and purposes. Like if I don't do it, I don't necessarily right now trust AI to do it, and then I'm working on that. I'm doing a lot more with AI. I've got myself up to speed on AI because I'm constantly learning. First of all, I like to learn. Second of all, you have to stay up with the technology, and that's where everything's going. But discussion for another day. So the problem was the roles didn't fit. You're overqualified. This is a junior position. It only pays this much. It only does this much. Look, but it has health benefits, and look, if I can get a job at a university, I can go back and take classes. Some of those benefits are important to me. Now most people who are in their 50s probably, are looking towards retirement. I I don't think that way. That's not the way that I think. I mean, it's great for people, but I want to keep working. There's only so many Charles Schultz stories I want to hear where the person retires and within months they're either debilitated or they're dead. So that scares me alone. But anyway, if you want to retire, I totally get it. But at the age that I'm at, sending out resumes, and then you have to figure out that your resume, it used to be you sent out a resume and an actual human would look at it. Well, now AI looks at it and you have to have certain words and you have to learn the system. It's constantly learning the system, and then you get an expert to look at it and all these other kinds of things. That's fine. That's fine. I can do that. And then you have interviews, and most of them are virtual. They're, if they do call you back, if they do want to meet with you, it's virtual. So what I get now is I get a lot of people who either want to scam me, and I'm not saying a legitimate company. I'm saying like legitimate scams. Like, hey, and I look more into their business, and it's a website, but like the business doesn't really do anything. It's probably a quasi Ponzi scheme in most cases, or they're interested because I have this experience and they want to talk to me, you know, and they want to see, hey, can Tom do something that a 25-year-old can't do? Okay. And in many cases, I can. It's really a question of what do they want the position to do? If they want the position to, write a blog, send a note, post social media, make a video off their phone or their computer, or write a script for something, I can do that. And someone right out of college, my son can do these things. Okay. And he's 16. So, yes, they can do that as well. But what I'm bringing to the table, they don't understand because in many cases, I'm talking to an HR person or I'm talking to like the owner of the company or someone who's been at the company 30 years and can tell me, how the light switches were different, 30 years ago in the office or whatever, just people who have been doing the same thing, they've been doing it the same way and they want to get this 23-year-old, and that's fine that they're 23. I'm not being an ageist. They want to get this 23 in here to do these four things and that's what they want to do. And what I try to show them is, yes, I can do those things, but there's other things I can be helpful with. I'm used to multitasking. I've multitasked for the last 20 years and I enjoy it. I mean, I literally have to sit down, stop myself, make a list because I have so many things running through my head. Or when I'm on my computer, I'm doing two or three things at one time. Now, that's probably more of the ADHD kicking in that I've had throughout my entire life, but it happens. And so getting back to, I work with these people, I work with these companies, whatever it might be, and sometimes it's the wrong fit. And to a certain extent, I blame myself. Maybe I'm maybe I'm the the outlier. Maybe I'm the one that's not helping myself. But oftentimes what I find is they don't understand marketing or communications. They don't even understand exactly how to get a client. Or in the case of some family businesses, they've never wanted to do this certain job that the role that I'm in. So they don't really understand how it works. They just know that someone in the past whose name, they keep telling me, oh, this person, Pat, Terry, Bill, whatever, used to do it this way, used to do it this way. Well, guess what? That was like 15 years ago, and they're not here anymore. And that's not the way things are done. And they can't see the forest because all the trees are in the way. They can't go on that. They can't look at the home they want to purchase and see how they can develop that home. They can't see past the wallpaper. They can't see past the decorations that they don't like. They can't see the wall. They can't see what that room looks like with their furniture in it, without that ugly couch, without that dining room set that they don't like. They can't see that. And that's all I do all day long is say, okay, we have this widget, we have this service. How do we make it different? How do we make it stand out? They can't see that. Okay. Um, they don't always understand the market. I just jotted notes because this is the first time I'm doing this. I apologize. I'm going to try to not jot down notes, but that's also the way that I work. I like to get in front of the camera. One of the reasons why I'm so nervous about this was because I knew I had to get in front of the camera, talk about things that make me uncomfortable. And you might say, "Oh, well, you didn't really talk about much. This isn't really that uncomfortable." You really look, this is a huge step for me. To say that it's a struggle with where I am right now, having lost a good paying full-time job 10 years ago and kind of bouncing around to make some money, cobble together some work, cobble together, various projects, various work. And I realized that there is this there is this notion of when you get older in life, work changes. You're not necessarily changing. You're the same person that you are, that you were. You're nice, you're outgoing, whatever it might be. You're a slob, you're not a slob, whatever it might be. You're not necessarily changing. Maybe you're, learning things like I always try to do. But at the same time, maybe what it is you have so much experience, the person you're reporting to might not understand that role. And it's not an age thing. They could be younger than you, they can be older than you. It doesn't matter. They don't understand it because they don't do it. For a variety of reasons, they don't do it. I've had bosses before, or people I report to, or clients, or however you want to talk to it, say, "Oh, you got to go pitch this person. Oh, you got to call this media." Okay. Because I've done a lot of PR too. I've done business development, done all those kinds of things. And the boss will say, "Oh, no, 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 no. I don't want to do that. Oh, I'm not doing that. Oh, I'm not." When you're young and you're 20, you sort of accept it as your role. When you're in your 40s and 50s and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to do that." But you're the number one person. You're the person in charge. And you don't want to do this? Don't you understand that one of your roles is doing this? Now, I'm not saying that I should defer my work to you, but if a client asks you, "Hey, can you help me with this?" and they go, "Oh, no, 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 talk to Tom." It doesn't look good for you. How do you build that relationship? How do you make yourself feel important? Yeah, that person may or may not be paying the boss or whatever that relationship is, and maybe they're just thinking about money and all of those other kinds of things. But if you can't do it and you want me to do it, I'm fine. First of all, I'm fine with that. But second of all, it's a red flag to me because the one thing I've always tried to do, and I learned this from my family growing up, and it's just one of those rules that I've always tried to live by in my careers. If I'm not willing to do it, if I haven't done it, if I'm not willing to do it, if 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 they need me to do it right now, I'm going to do it. It doesn't matter how low level it is, how junior it is, how green it is, any of that information. I'll knock door to door. I helped park cars before. I got into a mascot suit that someone wore for 2 hours before that. So it was sweaty and gross because I had an opportunity to do something to elevate the brand in a national magazine. That's why I do those things. So if you're looking for work and you're not finding it, you're not alone. There's a lot of reasons for it. In many cases, yeah, you might be the connection, but you also might be finding clients. You might be finding uh, companies to work for because something about your resume attracts them to you. And you have to look at that as well and say, I need to refresh my resume because I'm tired of going down these dead end areas or getting a boss that doesn't truly understand what I do and doesn't give me the work that really benefits the company. Sure, my son can do all these things. He can post on social media. He can upload a video, blah, 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 blah. He can do all those things. If that's just what you wanted me to do, then fine, then that's it. But there's more that I can do. And when I give a plan, when I talk about the more, don't put it away. And the other thing about it is a lot of bosses don't understand things. And I think I'm kind of repeating myself now, but they don't understand things and they're afraid because they don't want to show that they don't know things. So you have to work really diligently at telling them things, showing them things. You have to keep working it, bring it up subtly, bring it up in a meeting, talk about it in a staff meeting, make a PowerPoint about it, make a video about it, or show them a video of a competitor that uses that messaging. Anyway, this is the first time we're going to get into more. I know this was a tad generic. Thank you for watching. We'll be back, or I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks.